As we grow older, we're told that family is everything. That family knows best, that we must forgive, forget, and fall in line, no matter how much it hurts. But what if some of the things you've believed your whole life were never true to begin with? What if those beliefs were planted by toxic relatives who relied on guilt, fear, and obligation to control you? By the time you reach your 60s, you've likely heard these lies so many times, they start to sound like truth. Lies like, "You owe us," or "This is just how families are," or "You're being selfish." These aren't innocent phrases. They're tools. Tools used to silence you, trap you in roles that no longer fit, and convince you that setting boundaries makes you a bad person. The danger of these lies isn't just in how they were spoken. It is in how deeply they take root. Over time, they can corrode your confidence, sabotage your peace of mind, and make you question your own worth. And worse, they can pass on to the next generation, repeating the same patterns you've spent a lifetime trying to break. But here is the truth. You are not selfish for choosing peace. You are not ungrateful for saying no, and you are not wrong for protecting your energy, your time, and your emotional health. In this video, we are going to expose 5 of the most common lies toxic family members tell, and show you exactly how to challenge them. If you've ever doubted yourself after a family interaction, if you've ever walked away feeling small, guilty, or confused, this message is for you, because healing begins the moment you stop believing what was never true in the first place. Lie 1. You owe us everything. This lie is one of the most powerful and the most deeply rooted. It often begins in childhood, reinforced subtly through language and expectation. "We put food on your plate," they remind you. "We sacrificed so much for you." And the unspoken message is clear: now you owe us forever. At first, it may seem like love, gratitude, a sense of duty. But over time, this belief becomes a trap. It conditions you to give endlessly, not out of joy, but out of guilt. You learn to silence your own needs, to always say yes, to drop everything when someone calls because you owe them, even if it hurts, even if it costs your well-being, your peace, your freedom. This lie is dangerous because it disguises obligation as virtue. It tells you that self-neglect is noble, that setting boundaries is betrayal. But here's the truth. Love that demands repayment is not love. It's leverage. And it has nothing to do with your worth as a child, sibling, or family member. Yes, your parents may have made sacrifices. That's what most parents do. But raising a child is not a transaction. It's a responsibility, and one they chose. Your existence is not a debt, and your future should not be payment for the past. In many toxic families, "you owe us" becomes a lifelong sentence. You're expected to take care of everyone else, emotionally, financially, physically, even as your own health declines. You're guilted into staying silent, accepting mistreatment, giving money you can't afford, or putting your needs last. Because you're the good one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't say no. But here's the truth they do not want you to believe. You don't owe your life to anyone who uses love as currency. Your time, energy, and presence are gifts, not obligations. And you have the right to spend them in ways that align with your values, not someone else's guilt script. So what can you do? Start by rewriting the script in your own head. When you hear the voice that says, "You owe them," pause and ask, "Do I really? Or am I just afraid of disappointing someone who has made guilt their favorite weapon?" Remind yourself, giving is beautiful when it comes from choice, not coercion. Next, practice saying no, without apology. Not because you're ungrateful, but because you're allowed to prioritize your well-being. You can care without carrying. You can love without losing yourself. You can also have honest conversations. "I appreciate everything you did for me, but I'm no longer comfortable with being treated like I'm in debt." It may cause discomfort, but setting that boundary can be the most healing act you ever do, for you and for the next generation watching you. Because when you break free from this lie, you show others, especially your children and grandchildren, that love is not a chain, it's a choice. Lie 2. This is just how families are. One of the most dangerous lies that toxic relatives tell, and one of the easiest to believe, is this: "This is just how families are." It sounds harmless, familiar, even comforting in its predictability. But beneath that phrase hides a brutal reality, acceptance of dysfunction as normal. This lie has deep roots. It shows up when someone crosses a boundary and you try to speak up, but they shut you down with, "Come on, don't be so sensitive, you know how your uncle is." Or when family gatherings leave you drained and disrespected, but you're told, "That's just how it is, that's family." Over time, you begin to internalize it. You start thinking that feeling emotionally unsafe is just part of the deal. That walking on eggshells, tolerating gossip, enduring passive-aggressive jabs, or being dismissed and devalued are all just family traditions. You stop expecting better. You stop asking for more. And in doing so, you slowly lose sight of what healthy even looks like. Here is the truth no one told us when we were younger. Not everything that is common is okay. Not everything that happens in the family is acceptable. And just because it's been happening for generations doesn't make it right. When toxic behavior is protected by tradition, it becomes nearly impossible to challenge. Because then, it's not just about setting a boundary. It feels like breaking a sacred code. You fear being the one who ruins the peace or disrespects your elders. But the peace is already broken when someone's voice is ignored. Respect is already missing when someone's needs are constantly dismissed. If you're over 60 and still hearing this lie, or worse, telling it to yourself, it is time to step back and ask, who benefits from this belief? Who gains when I stay quiet? Who is protected and who is hurt? You may find that those who most insist, "This is just how families are the very people whose behavior would be called out if change ever came. But you don't have to keep playing along. You don't have to normalize what hurts you. You don't have to accept dysfunction as a legacy to protect. You have the right, at any age, to want something better, kinder, more respectful, more honest. So how do you break this cycle? Start by naming it. This might be how it's always been, but that doesn't make it right. The simple act of saying this out loud is powerful. It reclaims your voice. It reminds you, and others, that you are not the problem for noticing a problem. Next, surround yourself with models of healthy interaction. If your own family hasn't shown you what that looks like, find people who will. Join communities where mutual respect is the norm. Build friendships where emotional safety is non-negotiable. Seek spaces that feel peaceful, not because they avoid conflict, but because they handle it with maturity and care. And finally, give yourself permission to want more. Even now, even after decades. You are not too old to unlearn dysfunction. You are not too late to start choosing peace. The lie that this is just how families are only survives when no one questions it. So be the one who does. Not to destroy the family, but to finally make it worth being part of. Lie 3. If you don't forgive, you're the problem. Among the most manipulative and spiritually weaponized lies toxic relatives tell is this: if you don't forgive, you're the problem. It is often said with a calm voice and a tilted head, as if it's wisdom passed down by saints. It's coated in moral superiority, wrapped in religion, and delivered as if it's the key to healing. But really, it's a tool to silence you. This lie forces you to swallow pain before you've even named it. It urges you to move on without resolution. It demands your peace without ever addressing the source of your hurt. And when you hesitate, when you ask for accountability, for real change, for an honest conversation, you're labeled bitter, angry, vengeful, or worst of all, unforgiving. In many families, forgiveness is used like a broom, not to clean the mess, but to sweep it under the rug. The mess stays, it festers, and you are expected to live over it, smiling, hosting holidays, making small talk with people who deeply wounded you, just so everyone else can be comfortable. But here is the truth: forgiveness is a deeply personal process. It cannot be forced, it cannot be faked, and it should never be used as a weapon against someone who is still bleeding. You do not owe forgiveness to anyone who hasn't earned your trust back. You do not owe peace to people who never apologized, never took responsibility, and never made amends. Forgiveness, if and when it comes, should be your choice, not their demand. This lie thrives because it shames you into silence. It paints you as the problem for having boundaries. It confuses healing with forgetting, but forgetting is not healing. It is erasure. Real healing is rooted in truth, and truth often requires confrontation, honesty, and sometimes distance. And make no mistake, distance can be sacred. Sometimes the most powerful form of self-love is deciding that you will no longer sit at tables where you are served guilt instead of grace. Toxic relatives will often weaponize your kindness. They'll say, "We're family. We should let the past go." But what they really mean is, "Let me hurt you again without consequence." True family takes responsibility. True love holds space for your pain. True healing includes safety, not denial. So what can you do? Start by letting go of the pressure to feel better before you actually feel safe. Your healing is not for their comfort. Give yourself permission to grieve what happened, not just the events but the trust that was broken. Acknowledge the patterns, the silence, the gaslighting. Name what hurt you. Then reclaim your definition of forgiveness. Maybe for you, it means releasing the grip that anger has on your life, without ever letting that person back in. Maybe it means wishing them well from a distance while protecting your peace fiercely. Or maybe it means no forgiveness at all, just a decision to move forward without dragging the weight of resentment behind you. Whatever it looks like, let it be yours. Not someone else's checklist, not a toxic relative's shortcut to avoid accountability. And remember this, choosing not to forgive does not make you a bad person. It makes you honest, and honesty and with yourself is the beginning of real healing. Life 4. You owe us because we raised you. Few things cut deeper than being told, directly or indirectly, that your life is not your own, that your choices, your time, your money, even your peace, are all part of some unpaid debt. This is the lie of obligation. You owe us because we raised you. It often begins with subtle reminders. After everything we've done for you, or we sacrifice so much, the least you can do is... It may sound like gratitude at first, but listen closely. It's not about appreciation. It's about control. This belief turns love into a transaction. It poisons the idea of family with the language of debt. It says, "We gave you life, so now you must give us yours in return." That is not love. That is emotional blackmail wrapped in the disguise of duty. Yes, raising children takes effort, sacrifice, and immense love. But parenting is a choice, one that does not entitle repayment. We do not bring children into this world to be our future servants, caretakers, or emotional crutches. True parenting is unconditional. It says, "I did this for you because I love you," not, "Now it's your turn to pay me back." But in some families, this lie is so ingrained that guilt becomes a way of life. You hesitate before taking a vacation because your parents might say, "Must be nice, we never had that luxury." You feel bad for setting boundaries because they respond with, "After all we've done, you can't do this one thing for us?" You dread the phone call, the visit, the holidays, because you know it's never just about connecting. It's about being reminded of what you owe. This mindset steals joy. It hijacks your adulthood. It keeps you in a permanent state of emotional debt where nothing you do is ever enough. Here's the truth. Gratitude and obligation are not the same. Gratitude comes from love. Obligation comes from fear. You can love your parents deeply and still set limits. You can honor what they've done without sacrificing your well-being. You can be thankful without being trapped. So what do you do when this lie shows up? First, redefine your boundaries. Being a good son or daughter does not mean saying yes to everything. It means being honest, being present when you can, and caring in ways that are sustainable, not self-destructive. Next, notice the guilt tactics. When someone says, "After everything I've done for you," pause. Ask yourself, are they celebrating my life or trying to control it? Emotional manipulation often hides in flattery or pity. Do not let it dictate your choices. Also, give yourself permission to choose your life. You do not exist to fulfill someone else's expectations. Your time is not a payment. Your joy is not a luxury. You are not selfish for wanting peace. And most importantly, remember this. A healthy relationship with your parents or any relative is built on love, not leverage. The goal is connection, not control. Yes, aging parents may need support, and many of us want to be there, gladly. But even in caregiving, boundaries matter. You can help without being consumed. You can care without being coerced. If you are over 60, you might be dealing with this lie in reverse, where your children begin to expect your help without gratitude, as if it's owed. But the principle remains the same. Love cannot survive where debt is the foundation. Let go of the belief that your worth is measured by how much you repay. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the scorekeeping. You were not born to repay a debt. You were born to live a life. With love, yes, but also with freedom, choice, and dignity. I5. You're too sensitive. It was just a joke. Of all the manipulative phrases used by toxic family members, few are as common or as damaging as this one. You're too sensitive. It was just a joke. At first glance it sounds innocent, light-hearted even. But underneath the surface lies something far more insidious, the complete dismissal of your feelings, your boundaries, and your humanity. It's not a joke when the punchline is always at your expense. It's not humor when it leaves you feeling smaller, embarrassed, or ashamed. This lie is used to normalize cruelty, to excuse passive-aggressive jabs, to mask bullying as playfulness. It gives the person making the comment a shield and paints you, the one who is hurt, as the problem. It flips the script. Now you're not just hurt, you're too sensitive, dramatic, or can't take a joke. Let's be clear. A joke should make people laugh, not wince. A joke should build connection, not break it. When someone uses humor as a weapon, it's not comedy. It's control. And yet in many families these so-called jokes are part of the culture. The uncle who always comments on your weight, the cousin who mocks your beliefs, the sibling who mimics your voice when you speak up, the parent who uses sarcasm to criticize you in front of others, then smiles and says, "Lighten up, we're just having fun." But here's the truth, your sensitivity is not a weakness. It's your emotional intelligence speaking up. It's your intuition recognizing disrespect. It's your self-worth saying, "This doesn't feel good, and I don't have to accept it." Toxic people fear this kind of clarity, because once you see their behavior for what it is, you stop playing along. You stop laughing to keep the peace. You stop shrinking to make them comfortable. And when you do, the pushback begins. They'll call you cold, distant, ungrateful. They'll say, "You've changed." But you haven't changed. You've simply stopped allowing their cruelty to be labeled as humor. So what can you do when this lie is used against you? Start by trusting your gut. If something feels off, even if everyone else is laughing, honor that feeling. You don't need a group consensus to know when something hurts. You don't need a permission slip to have boundaries. Then name it, calmly, directly. Say, "That joke was hurtful, and I don't find it funny." Or, "Please don't make comments like that about me again." You're not attacking them. You're defending your right to emotional safety. They may roll their eyes. They may accuse you of ruining the mood. Let them. Your job is not to manage their discomfort. Your job is to protect your peace. And if the behavior continues, create space. Step back from conversations or gatherings where this pattern repeats. Your presence is not owed. Your tolerance is not infinite. Also, be cautious of the, "Well, that's just how they are" excuse. Normalizing someone's harmful behavior because it's familiar doesn't make it acceptable. Family traditions are not sacred if they harm the people they claim to love. You have every right to surround yourself with people who honor your heart, not mock it. People who lift you up, not tear you down and laugh while doing it. People who use humor to connect, not to control. You are not too sensitive. You are aware, you are strong. And most of all, you are worthy of respect, even when the room is full of people who've never learned what that truly means. Lie 6. That's just how our family is. One of the most dangerous lies used to justify bad behavior within families is this quiet sentence, often said with a shrug. That's just how our family is. At first, it might sound like an explanation, a harmless excuse. But look closer and you'll see it for what it really is, a silencing mechanism. A way to shut down discomfort, a way to avoid accountability, a subtle but powerful message that says, "This is how things have always been, so who are you to question it now?" This lie protects dysfunction. It masks generational wounds. It teaches children and adults alike to tolerate the intolerable. Because tradition says we should. The uncle who drinks too much and ruins every holiday gathering? That's just how he is. The parent who belittles you, compares you, mocks your choices? Oh, don't take it personally, and that's just Mom. The cousin who borrows money and never pays it back? Well, you know how he is, just let it go. Do you see the pattern? The person who causes harm is never required to change. Instead, it's the person who's hurt, who's expected to adjust, to swallow the pain, to stay silent, in the name of keeping the peace. This lie teaches you to minimize your experiences. It tells you your discomfort is less important than someone else's habits. It says love means accepting mistreatment, as long as it comes from family. But here's the truth. Love is not a permission slip for pain. Family history is not a free pass to hurt each other. And just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's healthy. Many people reach their 50s, 60s, even 70s before they realize the traditions they upheld were never sacred. They were just patterns, often toxic ones, passed down, normalized, never questioned, until someone finally says, enough, that someone can be you. You don't owe loyalty to a legacy of harm. You don't have to keep repeating what broke you. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to, and you don't have to smile through behaviors that leave you feeling drained, disrespected, or diminished. Yes, family matters. But family is not an excuse for abuse. It is not a shield for shame. Real love holds people accountable. Real love honors truth. So what do you do when this lie shows up? First, get curious. When someone says, "That's just how our family is," ask, why? Why do we excuse certain behaviors? Why do we call disrespect tradition? Why do we prioritize appearances over emotional safety? Next, give yourself permission to break the pattern. You don't have to wait for a crisis to set a boundary. You don't need everyone's agreement to say, "This doesn't work for me." Change starts when one person chooses honesty over habit. You might get pushback, you might be called dramatic, ungrateful, or even disloyal. That's okay. People who benefit from the old rules will always resist the new ones. But the truth is, they're not losing you, they're losing control. Also, know this. Healing doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means creating relationships based on respect, not obligation. It means deciding what you will and will not allow, regardless of what others choose. And finally, remember, you are not the first to question the story, but you might be the first to rewrite it. Families evolve. They can grow, but only when someone is brave enough to say, "That's not who we are anymore." You can be that voice. Not to shame the past, but to build a healthier future. Lie 7. You owe us after everything we've done for you. Among the most emotionally manipulative phrases ever spoken within families, few hit as hard, or as deeply, as this one. You owe us after everything we've done for you. It's a sentence loaded with history, guilt, pressure, and silent expectation. It can come from parents, siblings, even extended relatives. And while it may sound like a call for appreciation, what it really is a demand. A demand for compliance, for silence, for emotional debt that never quite seems paid off. But let's pause for a moment and look at the truth behind this phrase. Yes, families often sacrifice for one another. Yes, parents do a great deal to raise their children. That's real, that's meaningful. And gratitude is natural. But when those acts of love, care, and duty are weaponized as currency, something shifts. The relationship turns from love-based to transaction-based. I gave you life, food, school, a home. Now you owe me your loyalty, your decisions, your presence, your obedience. That's not parenting, that's possession. And let us be honest, many of us grew up in cultures or households where obedience was mistaken for love, where questioning an elder meant you were ungrateful, where saying no to a request meant you had forgotten everything your family had given you. But here's the hard truth. Love that comes with a price tag isn't love. It's leverage. And no healthy relationship, family or otherwise, should be based on guilt, fear, or repayment. You are not a debt to be collected. You are a human being with autonomy, limits, and a right to shape your own life, regardless of how much someone else gave you in the past. Because real love gives without expectation. It trusts, releases, and respects the boundaries of the other. And when someone gives out of genuine love, they don't need to remind you. They don't keep a scoreboard. They don't call in favors decades later like emotional bill collectors. So what can you do if this lie is used against you? First, recognize the manipulation. When someone says, "After everything we've done for you," they are not inviting gratitude. They are demanding control. That distinction matters. Next, create space for honest dialogue. Try saying, I appreciate what you've done for me, and I'm truly grateful. But love isn't a debt. I can build a healthy relationship with anyone who makes me feel like I owe them my life. This may feel uncomfortable at first. It may stir up old guilt. But discomfort is the price of growth, and boundaries are the foundation of freedom. You can also start rewriting your inner story. Many adults carry invisible contracts in their minds, agreements like, "I must always say yes," or "I can't let them down." These contracts were often signed in childhood, without your full understanding. It's okay to tear them up now. And remember, gratitude and boundaries can coexist. You can say thank you for your upbringing and still say no to emotional control. You can honor your parents without sacrificing yourself. You can show up with love and still walk away when your peace is being compromised. Let's be clear, you don't owe your life to anyone. You don't owe endless visits, money, explanations, or emotional labor just because someone else chose to love you in a certain way. Real love doesn't trap, it frees. And if your family has taught you that love means obligation, you have every right to redefine what love means for you now. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not ungrateful for setting limits. You are not a bad son, daughter, or relative because you chose to grow. You are simply someone who knows love without guilt is the only love worth keeping. By the time we reach our 60s and beyond, life has already taught us many lessons, some through love, others through pain. But what we often fail to recognize is how many quiet lies we've carried along the way. Lies passed down through family, culture, and even our own fears. Lies that told us to stay silent, to settle, to self-sacrifice for the sake of peace. But now is the time to unlearn. Because the truth is this: you are not here to live out someone else's expectations. You are not too old to grow, to heal, to change course. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not weak for wanting rest, joy, or respect. You're not too late for anything that still brings you life. These lies only have power when you believe them. The moment you stop, everything shifts. You begin to speak your truth. You reclaim your energy. You say no without guilt. You say yes to what finally feels right. After 60, life doesn't end. It sharpens, it distills, it returns you to yourself. So shed the old lies, step into the clarity you've earned, and remember, you are not here to prove your worth, you already have it.